Testing. Bonjour tout le monde, je m'appelle Michael Noel et je parle un petit peu de français. Aujourd'hui, je vais en anglais parce que c'est difficile pour moi en français. That's the last of my French. So we're switching to English, but we're going to rely on one of Microsoft's AI services, which we'll be talking a lot more about, the translation. Please excuse the translation, it doesn't always get everything right, but hopefully today we'll at least be able to understand a little bit if you don't follow some of my English. So I will attempt to go slowly. If you have questions, please stop me. Welcome to the session. My name is, as I said, Michael Noel. I've been working within the Microsoft space for around 30 years right now. I currently work as a consultant for a company, an American company called Convergent Computing in the San Francisco Bay Area. And with the work that I've done over the years, I've been fortunate enough to be able to present all around the world. Actually, here in the Republic of Congo, which is my 92nd country that I've been able to speak at around the world. And I've also been lucky enough to travel around the world. Both Joel and I are both travelers. We've been to 190 out of 193 countries in the world. So we have 3 left, and hopefully after this trip, we're heading to Brazzaville to get 1 more. So we'll have only 2 left in the world to visit. There's more people that have done in the space than have done in every country in the world, and so it's a bit of a distinction. I'm very happy to be able to have that opportunity in my life, and especially happy to be able to present around the world on different topics today. So enough about me. Let's get into the presentation here. One of the reasons that I put this presentation together is that with our clients, we're starting to see a great increase in the number of cyber attacks that are happening. So we're starting to see organizations get crippled when all of their computers go down because they're subject to ransomware attack, for example. We're starting to see data loss. We're starting to see the hackers go after not just your data, but after your backups. And the result is that for those of us who work in IT, that's a career mistake to make to allow hackers into your organization. So it's critical that you spend a lot of time looking at how modern hackers are trying to attack you today and why you should be concerned about it. And towards the end of the presentation, I'll give you some tips and tricks and different tools that you can potentially use to counter those threats. One of the first things I want to talk about is this concept of spear phishing. You may have heard of something called phishing. What phishing is it's you've seen the low-level attempts at phishing where someone will try to send you an email and say, please click on this link and provide me with your bank credentials. And these are the types of things that we may have family members that fall for, or somebody else that maybe is not too IT savvy. You think that they're getting something from the bank, click on the link, send a communication. But within organizations, within enterprises, what we see is the hackers actually go target individuals within the company. So they'll target people that are high up, they'll target the managing directors, the executives, or they'll target people within the finance department. And when they target the people within the finance department, they know who they're going after, and they're looking for people that can initiate bank transfers, who can access confidential data, and they can find this information fairly easily. You can find information about people via LinkedIn or via other social networks. You can easily determine what the email address of someone within the company is, someone with a financial director. So we see spear phishing happen all the time, and it's not just with big organizations. It happens with small organizations. It happens with city governments. It happens with smaller nonprofit organizations. So we see spear phishing happen all the time. There are much more resources that are available to the hackers today. It used to be that we would joke about that the hackers were people that were sitting in the basement of or in the garage of their mom's place, sitting on a couch and hacking away and eating potato crisps and attempting to get in. And that may have been the case 10, 20 years ago. But today, you have entire states that are out there that are sponsoring hacking. In fact, they use that as a means of bypassing sanctions or as a means of gathering money for their costs. So there'll actually be large office buildings like this one, just filled with cubicles of people that are sitting in there attempting to hack. And they'll be constantly trying to hack the organization. They'll be putting VPN tunnels out, hacking the computer there, trying to get a hold of some system, using that to go to another system. So state-sponsored attacks are a huge problem today. Ransomware, I mentioned this. This is the primary mechanism in which hackers make money nowadays. It used to be via bank transfers and things like that, but now it's much more often to go after non-reversible methods of financial transactions, such as with cryptocurrency. And so what they try to do with something called ransomware is they'll take over a machine, they'll encrypt the contents of that machine with a key, and then they'll often use that key only if you pay out a ransom in the form of cryptocurrency. So Bitcoin or Monero or some other cryptocurrency, for example. And we see this a lot. In fact, we've seen this affect organizations within the Bay Area every week. We're getting reports of this. Sometimes even daily, there's new organizations that just get all of their systems completely wiped out by ransomware. And this is especially a problem with the way that we do IT today. The IT management style, the IT administration style today is to have people with their user accounts and admins with powerful admin accounts. But what happens when the admin with the powerful account gets compromised? But what happens is that person that compromises that account uses those admin credentials to go through and encrypt every system on the network, everything, down to the printers, down to the kiosk machines, everything that they could possibly get a hold of, they go through and encrypt, and they offer you that key. And by the way, sometimes even if you pay that, you don't get the key, or the key doesn't work very well. There's some very high profile cases of that happening. One interesting thing that we talk about when we talk about data loss is this concept of oversharing. Because we come to organizations, especially smaller organizations, and they tell us, listen, we trust everybody within our company. We don't think anybody's going to be stealing data. But oftentimes it's not stealing data. It's someone accidentally sharing something outside of the company that they shouldn't have shared. And this happens a lot. So for example, I'll give you an example that's very common. There may be an email thread that starts with a small group of people where there's a link that's shared to Dropbox or Box or something. And that link then, that email chain is forwarded out to a greater audience. Eventually it makes it out to somebody on the outside that shouldn't see that document. But that link is still there. An email, they click on the link, they're able to access those documents. So trying to control oversharing of content is a big issue with organizations today. At the same time, the password technology that we're using today is archaic. It's a 90s level password mentality. And one of the problems is that the passwords that we use today are not really that secure. And let me give you an example of exactly what happens with modern passwords today. If you were to create a password that's just called password, and this, by the way, is one of the most common passwords that's out there. What happens is that there's a one-way operation called a hashing operation that converts that into a string. The string here is called an MD5 string. That string is known to hackers to be password because it's easy enough to create all of the possible strings that are out there. If you create a unique password, then it's going to give you a hash that's impossible to reverse. So what we always recommend is that the core is to make sure that your passwords are unique, right? Not necessarily that you're changing them every 2 months. What happens when you tell your users to change their password every 2 months? They write down the password, they put it on a monitor, put it under the keyboard. It happens all the time. So I recommend a couple of different things around password. One is I recommend you use something called a passphrase instead of a password. A passphrase is 3 different words strung together, or 4 different words strung together. It's actually much easier for humans to remember those words than it is to remember long, uppercase, lowercase, and things like that. So, and also at the same time, don't force your users to change their password as often. It sounds counterintuitive, but it actually can be more secure. So moving on from that, we're talking about cache credentials. what a cache credential is that it's your password stored on your machine, but it's stored in an offline form. So you don't have to be connected to the internet to be able to log in. This is useful when you're on an airplane, for example. But this can be dangerous if someone is able to get a hold of the machine and is able to have admin access, because what they can do is they can start to hack those credentials. And where this becomes a big problem is when an admin logs into your machine and leaves a copy of cache credentials on that machine. Because then at that point, the attacker that has rights to your machine will be able to decrypt that password, and will have the opportunity to decrypt that password. So, moving on. Cache credential. Lateral attacks. We see this type of thing happen all the time. What a lateral attack is that most hackers are not going to be satisfied with just getting some low-level employees. They start with a low-level employee, and then they move on. They take the low-level employee's credentials, and they look at their machine, and they look for higher credentials. Maybe they find those higher credentials on it. Then they move on to that next person. That person might be in finance. Great, more opportunity. That person might be in IT, even better. Eventually, you get the domain admin credential, you get the boss level credential, and then that ransomware attack goes out. So, we see lateral attacks happen all the time once a hacker gets in. In fact, once they get in, it's very difficult to get them out because they're constantly creating backdoors within your infrastructure. So if you have a hacker within your organization today, that's when you really run into the problem, when they start to move. So how do you protect yourself from some of these problems? What do you do to protect your organization today? One of the first things that I like to tell our clients is you want to design your network around the concept of what's called defense in depth, the ID concept. And the idea is almost like an onion. Your data is in the middle of that onion, and there are layers of protection around the data. And those layers of protection are physical, so you don't just store your servers, where someone can get access to them. You secure them. There are network level protections. You secure the network so that someone can just plug into the network and see things on the network itself. You secure them on a host level, so you go in and secure the host itself, make sure that people other than admin can't log in. Application levels protections, you use SharePoint or some other application, make sure you have the application, and then the admin protection. And this is a big area. I'll talk a little bit more in more detail. Hyperlink safety. This is it sounds like kind of a no-brainer, what we call a no-brainer here, but nowadays a lot of times people are gaining access to systems via these bad malformed links. So I always tell people, don't click on the links. In fact, I generally, even if I receive a link that I expect from a bank that I know that I'm expecting communication from them, I never click on the links there. I just open up a new browser and then go in and log in that way. And that's just because you'll see, it's hard to see from the screenshot, but this is right out of my junk email folder. I don't even have an account at Chase, but they sent this. And if you hover over the link, you can see that it's not actually a real link. Other things to use full disk encryption if you're not using technologies like BitLocker or like FileVault for Macs. Then what happens is that someone could get a hold of your hard drive, and there's various ways of doing it. Sometimes they steal the hard drive. Other times it's just the laptop is done with its end of life. It gets resold at a market. And next thing you know, your company data is on that laptop. I actually had a brother who worked for an organization that they went around the world and they gathered up hard drives at markets. And they found confidential data all around the world. Governmental confidential data, crazy amounts of data. So full disk encryption, make sure you've got that across the board. By the way, printers is another area to check the printer. A lot of times they have a cache, a hard drive cache, and if it's not encrypted, you have problems. DLP, or what we call data loss prevention, is a kind of a newer technology that's used to control what happens after data has been accessed. So it's very easy to say only Joel is allowed access to the data, nobody else has access to it. But if Joel takes that data, opens it up, prints it out, gives it to his friend, or copies and pastes the content and emails it off to somebody else, he's just bypassed my security. And DLP is a set of technologies that then can control how that data gets accessed, and it will restrict you from copying and pasting, restrict you from printing, and restrict you from other things. The number one tool that you can use to protect your users today, and I always tell people to do this and turn this on. This is free in a Microsoft world today. It's a technology called MFA, or you also may have heard of two-factor authentication. At its simplest, if you think about, you may have a bank account or something where there's a username and password, and after you enter that, they text you a code. So that's common today, and it's becoming much more common even in the areas outside of IT. But there are some disadvantages to that. One is someone could get a hold of your SIM and plug it into their phone and get the text. The second one is they can call up Airtel or your provider and say, "Hi, I'm John Philippe. Now, can you transfer this to this new SIM?" We've seen that happen. It's called this SIM swapping attack. So what I usually recommend is a modern multi-factor tool. Microsoft has some Microsoft Authenticator, there's the Google Authenticator apps, but they're getting even more sophisticated. Microsoft, for example, is adding into their MFA not just a code, but for example, choosing from specific codes or how do you enter a specific code, because sometimes people get prompted too often for the MFA, and if they do, they just hit approve all the time. That's bypassing the whole concept of MFA. But this is, by itself, this will reduce your vulnerability by 98%, according to Microsoft. So MFA, absolutely available if you can. Microsoft has a few tools, and, I'm not working for Microsoft or anything, but we run into these tools and we use them all the time. Depending on your organization and how it's licensed, you may already own some of these tools. So a lot of these are built into Microsoft 365 subscription, for example. The whole suite of Microsoft security tools has a new name. It's called Microsoft 365 Defender. Okay? And Microsoft 365 Defender has what they call Defender for Cloud Apps, which is for things like Office 365. Defender for Endpoint, which runs on your Windows machine or runs on your Mac machine. There's actually a new Linux client for Endpoint as well too. And then, Defender for Office 365, Defender for Identity. This is a great tool that you use on your on-prem infrastructure. It actually runs on domain controllers. That's something like if you're advanced in IT security, I know this down it is. We can chat about some of this in more detail. This is a great tool, though. The people that run penetration tests talk about this one as being the one that they are afraid of the most, because it will identify that I'm doing those penetration tests immediately. And then there's actually what's called Microsoft Defender Vulnerability Management, which is it's actually, I'll tell you one great thing about this tool here. It actually checks all your certificates and tells you when they're expiring. There's like a list of everything within your organization. And that by itself is worth it. Defender for Cloud, I'm not going to go into all of these different services, but you can see kind of this is basically, if it's within the Microsoft Cloud space, in Azure, there is a Defender client for it. And then Defender for Cloud Apps, this is a fantastic tool. If you're using Microsoft Defender for Endpoint, this is the tool that will go show you everything that your users are doing, and will tell you, give you alerts to say things like, "We just noticed this user uploaded 100 gigabytes of data to Dropbox. Is that, are they stealing data?" You get notifications immediately. So Defender for Cloud App is a great tool from that perspective. Defender for Identity, this is again that tool I mentioned that runs over the domain controller. Vulnerability management. I mentioned this one as well too. This is pretty good one that does it well in addition to the certificate. And Sentinel. Sentinel is what's called a SIEM, S-I-E-M, Security Information and Event Management Platform. Basically, it's a centralized platform for taking all of your security logs from all of your different locations, from firewalls, from domain controllers, and from other services, centralizing them, and then reporting on the information within them. This is extremely valuable for a lot of organizations when there are what are called zero-day attacks. So Microsoft, there was a very serious zero-day attack which was affecting Exchange servers around, I think, a year and a half or 2 years ago. And we had an organization that had Sentinel in place. And the day that zero-day attack came out, Microsoft came up with a package for Sentinel that would go through the last 30 days of your logs and see if someone had already taken advantage of that exploit. It's extremely valuable for organizations to have access to something like a SIEM. password space in the Microsoft world hasn't changed much since the 90s. In other words, if you have an Active Directory environment, by default, there's only so much you can do. You can specify password length, you can specify complexity. But if you want to extend the capabilities, Microsoft actually has a tool called Azure Password Protection that will help you. And then Azure AD Entitlement Management. It's a concept where admins are not admins all the time. They're only admins when they need to be admins. So the idea is that instead of giving someone Azure Global Admin or even Active Directory Domain Admin, what you're doing is you're only giving them the ability to become a global admin for a short period of time. And then that has to run through an approval process. And that's all done with this Azure Entitlement Management tool. So I'm trying to make sure I have enough time for Joel here. So I'm going to briefly pause and see if you guys have any quick questions before I transition to the artificial intelligence conversation. A bunch of fun ChatGPT stuff. Sure. Any questions? Yeah. To deploy and to implement Azure, Microsoft Azure to use Microsoft Sentinel. So you will need Sentinel, you'll need what's called a log analytic workspace within Sentinel for Azure to be able to work, because Sentinel works within that Azure log analytic workspace. So you will need an Azure subscription before you install Sentinel. But if I deploy the last version of Microsoft Server, I don't use Azure. So may I can deploy something else on my No, you will need Azure for 100%. You'll need an Azure subscription to be able to do that. The server itself cannot hold the role. It is a cloud-only service. But once you do that, there is a agent, what's called an MMA agent, that you install on that server and it takes all of the logs from that server and send them to Sentinel. So Sentinel is a service where you pay by the amount of the megabytes that you bring into the platform and the megabytes that you store, how long you store it for. So if you have a small amount of data, you pay a relatively low cost. You have a large amount of logs and data, you're going to pay a higher cost. I need the last slide of the slide. So CASB is really important today because we're using a lot of cloud-based services that are outside of the protection of the company. Okay, so you may be using Box.com, you may be using Microsoft OneDrive service, SharePoint. The vast majority of the tools that are used today are cloud-based. Certainly within a lot of organizations, not every organization. And because of that, you need kind of something to monitor that. And I know this is a screenshot, but yeah. So this is just one piece of Defender, and Defender itself has multiple pieces underneath it, right? So it's a suite of tools. But Defender for Cloud Apps is one specific tool. That's it. So I'll make sure that we have some time at the end. I want to transition over to Joel, but I want to thank everybody for coming out. This has been fantastic. You guys beat Kinshasa, by the way. There's more people here than Kinshasa. Good job. Fantastique. Merci beaucoup tout le monde. Not good stuff. It's showing up in that paragraph. One note. And over the display thing. There we go. It's something that's important. Go by the I'm not the end of my time. Hopefully the subtitles are helpful. But I want to talk about Etat and how it's changing everything. And a little bit about myself before we begin. I've been working with the Microsoft technologies, and I've actually worked at Microsoft for about 10 years, including some contract work, but also working with SharePoint and the product team, and on the marketing team as well. And I've been outside of Microsoft for about 10 years as well. I've worked at Activision Blizzard, and now I work with Sony on a contract where I work with Microsoft 365 at Sony Interactive. You guys know PlayStation? That's the reason I work on this PlayStation. I want to make sure everybody's sense. No free PlayStation. And as Michael mentioned, we both love to travel. I'm very excited to be here. We have a beautiful country. We love your food. So fantastic. And the culture. We've been hanging out with tattoos at night. The people every night. So wonderful. Love the tattoos. We were in Bakongo with the tattoos. So good, so good. And the photo, we saw the gorilla. So beautiful, so beautiful. Love the gorilla. They have amazing country. So I decided, why wouldn't I just have AI plan my presentation? Why not? So I wrote, I'm doing a presentation on Bing and ChatGPT. Can you give me a suggested outline on a 20-minute presentation? And on the left, you can see the links that you would normally get on Bing and Google that aren't giving you the presentation. On the right, you can see it says, sure, I can help you with that. Here's a suggested outline for your presentation. Explain what ChatGPT and Bing are and why they're relevant to your audience. Then you can use some facts from 1, 2, 3, and essentially it's linked. You can go gather the information into the research for your presentation to describe the features and abilities. Compare and contrast the technologies with strengths, weaknesses. And by the way, here's some more links to your research. And then it has your conclusion, summarize the main points of your presentation, including some recommendations, implications for the future, and so on. And then make some time for questions. Not bad, right? Not bad. So here's my outline. No, I'm just kidding. I did kind of choose some of my own topics, but I like the recommendations of those. I think they were very fair. What I want to cover today, first I want to help you all understand what is ChatGPT. And then I want to go into OpenAI and help you understand the relationship between OpenAI
and Bing and Microsoft, and how really there's a lot of similarities and a lot going on behind the scenes. And then I want to talk about what is generative AI. There's a revolution that's happening in the AI space, and it's going to change everything. And I want to end with talking specifically, and I want to do some demos. I want you to see just how powerful this technology is. So I want to talk about search versus OpenAI, and some of the differences there. I want to talk about, do we have any developers in here? Developers? maybe. Oh, maybe people who manage the IT department. Some interesting things with GitHub Copilot. And I want to talk about Bing and Azure OpenAI. And I'll take some time for questions as well. What is the fastest growing app in history? Anybody know? ChatGPT. That's right. In fact, ChatGPT went from 0 to 1 million users in 5 days. It took Facebook 10 months to get 1 million users, Instagram 2 months, Spotify 5 months, Netflix 3.5 years. Incredible. It's already up to 10 million queries per day. It's already had over 600 million visits. It's actually built on Microsoft Azure. Can you believe that? Something we need to be thinking about. Fastest app in history is built on Azure. The cost is free, but they're saying an estimated return of $200 million in 2023, the first year. And next year, in 2024, they're already anticipating $1 billion return for ChatGPT, for OpenAI. And how does it all relate to Bing? Well, I'll definitely share more details, but the improved version of ChatGPT is what powers Bing. And I'll help you understand the differences between ChatGPT and what's happening with Bing and the AI in Bing. On the slide right here. So we have 3 columns: ChatGPT, Bing, and Google Bard, which is Microsoft or Google's response to ChatGPT. Quick history. You may know, who was the co-founder of ChatGPT? Very popular at that. He likes to go to space. He wants to go to space. Wants to Mars. Elon Musk. Elon Musk was the co-founder of ChatGPT. Who's the largest investor today in ChatGPT? Number one. Who's the number one investor? Microsoft. So today, Elon Musk is doing very little to nothing with ChatGPT. In fact, if you look at the news, he's already looking at building a competitor to OpenAI. So OpenAI is the company that was built. He was the co-founder of it. He's no longer really involved at all. Microsoft is the largest investor. It's nearly 50%, I think it's 49 or 48% investor. And they actually just announced they're going to put in another $10 billion into OpenAI. The valuation of OpenAI is something like $23 billion already. It basically went from being worth like a 10 to 20 million dollars to $20 billion in 2 months. In how fast it's taken up. Microsoft, when they launched the Bing enhanced search powered by OpenAI, Azure OpenAI, they basically said for every 1% of search that they gain, for their competition with Google, for every 1% of the world that they gain in search, it's $2 billion in revenue. So on a market share perspective. So Very, very interesting. Google on their side with Bard, which is currently only private, it's only a handful of people, very selected set of users, not in public preview, based on Lambda. And it does have some AI image creation, but none of that was demoed at the announcement of Bard. So let's talk more about this. What is generative AI? The generative AI refers to programs that enable existing content like text, audio files, images, creating new content. It enables computers to learn the underlying pattern and relations with input, and then using that in similar content. This little photo right here, generated by AI last night when I was building the presentation. We'll have to do that. Most of the images in here are AI generated. In fact, pretty much all of them. Except for the logos and things. Except for the grid. Except for the grid. So what is this generative AI? What are we looking for? Things like image processing, where you can actually start with a low resolution image and make it higher. Think about that. Like that's incredible. You can start with a photo and mark it and say, I want take off the hat or remove the person from the photo, and it can completely AI generative to build what you're asking for, essentially. It's really incredible stuff. Also with audio, can transfer any computer generative voice into one that sounds like a human voice. So we've all kind of gotten used to these computer generated voices. Now you can start with a human and have it be preserved, preserved voice, or even take a computer sounding voice and make it more human-like. Things in healthcare, as an example, transferring molecules, 3D printing, starting from scratch. Anyway, there's a ton of things here, and I think this is just scratching the surface. In fact, one of the ones that I think in the Microsoft world or in the technology world that touches this the most is this AI programming. Kind of a paradigm. So think of it as like your virtual assistant is the AI. And this is one where I think there's some exciting demos I want to show you. So Microsoft owns GitHub with GitHub Copilot. Copilot is available today. Anyone can sign up for Copilot. And rather than just talk about it, let me show you some examples. So let me pop out of this. I know I'm going to go back to it. I might have you unplug. I might just unplug this and have you plug in here. Okay. Let's do it in there. Just go ahead and I didn't say the same. Sort of the same. I don't know if it's going to be subtitles. Subtitles on the website. I use subtitles in some. I know, but that's in PowerPoint. I have them doing the demo. No, I'm not saying okay. You're going to say, that's not. Oh, because how much? Oh, you said, all right, it's just going to be really small. All right. Oh, yeah. No, the full screen. I can try it again. Let's start with that, and then I'll just walk through and do it a few different demonstrations. If I want to start a new topic and kind of erase everything, I click the tweaking, and then I have a new space here. So I want to make this dynamic. What do we want to have? What do we want to do? Probably hard to know. That's first time steppers in Brazzaville. You want 12? You'll notice as well over here, I can tell you, sometimes it'll do 2 or 3 searches, so kind of cross search, and then acquire but first it tells us what they are. Certain bars mark us to the neighborhood. Not all used spots. And you can actually references. But we're looking through the different one chapters of Brazzaville that can kind of write up on it. That's probably key. I want to make it where it's like, you can't just do this first time. And then we have the learn more options here. And I think, how do I make it's conversational. Good stuff, huh? All right. Now let me pop over to a Microsoft, brand new Microsoft tool. Anybody ever heard of designer.microsoft.com? Yeah, it's still in preview. About to put that out. But see,
do a browser, content chapter using the vocal.
So design is built on top of Syllabus, which is from OpenIA as well. So you can start with an existing image from your device. I'm going to start with an AI generated image. I'm looking for are we happy with that? And you'll notice as well some of those prompts. You can have it be photograph, you can have it be a 3D, you can have it be yeah.
I don't know whether the vocal is. This thing has to be operated on it. Yeah, this one is full version because oh no.
My revolution is not anyway, that's a little bit of design. I don't want to go back in. But you can, once you have a photo, you can have a generate alternate design. You can, as well, you can upload a photo. You can upload a photo and say, this part of it, remove the hat, or remove this person in the background. And create templates and visuals, add text, and so on. For example, instead of saying, yeah, so your picture, yeah, the title, and wow. So now I'm going to do a little bit of I can show you what I did, and then we can do our own. This is a JavaScript codec. And what I told it to do was give me five African animals, give me five African cities, and then put together a story. So you can see at the bottom, Paris, Hawaii, and this is dynamic, like I just told it. But it shows those things, it shows the animals. I didn't tell it to do any of those things. So let's do one on our own. And another example of one of the JavaScript things I told it to do, I said, give me a clock. I want a Brazzaville clock inside of a blue circle, vertically centered and horizontally centered with the good, all in JavaScript. So so we want to give it some instructions here. I know you guys aren't developers, and I'm not a developer myself. But we essentially can use plain English and tell it what to do in JavaScript. Give me a list of searches involved, and then, what else do you want? Not really the same thing, so, but the idea of like being able to dynamically gather data and then do something else.
We'll put it in some kind of color coding or Venn diagram,
I can have the
See, you broke the internet. You broke the internet. There we go. Yeah, the data is plugged in. You have the data set.
So you can see, what it's about, working the right part of the
Oh, wow. I guess some of that, I guess they have to be overlapped again. It is something that color the first, all the way, back to the square. Okay, you're sharing the
So here's our JavaScript, and you can actually see the data that is pulled in. Let's see that on Boulevard. Look at the JavaScript laid out very well. Define the filter, the languages, time, extra. Yeah. Denomination. Good. I think that was for yeah, it's for coding. Builders use this program to control the finance to really at least the case of the code. As well, it's the GitHub assistant. It's designed around, you can start typing, you're just putting in the comments, and it will actually start giving you suggestions. Not just a line, but entire, I want to build an array, or I'm trying to, it can, maybe you don't know much about Red Hat, that's an example, and you're starting, and it can say, oh, this is the date time format. I know what you're talking about, so give you suggestions, and you can take it. The whole snippet of code. A large number of the tools in cybersecurity are using AI today. So Sentinel, for example, is using predictive AI. Not yeah, there's Sentinel, for example, has you can use scripts to analyze your data, your logs, and they use predictive AI to create to create they do a crypto language, so it'll create a crypto script for you automatically. So that's kind of an early version of this. This is similar to this. This is more advanced. This is more advanced. Basically, this is taking everybody in this room, taking all of our jobs away. Maybe not today, not today, but 10 years from now. So here's an example of what it's generated. I said, in JavaScript, say listed animals, these are listed in a story about what I saw in the and this is code. So this is the new world of search. This is Bing powered by OpenIA. And the way you need to think about this is ask your questions, short, long, in between. The more precise you ask, the better the answer. But as well, understand that answers are just the beginning. And as well, understand it's only as good as the data. So if you're asking questions about something that isn't data that's on the internet, and start asking about your family or something, if their information is not on the internet, it won't know. So it's only as good as the data. And the other reason to kind of think about AI as a co-pilot is to help you. And especially with these answers, like I was just using an example yesterday where I was like, who are the best lawyers in San Diego? And it gave me a list of ones that I recommend, and then it told me why. Like I want to know why these people. And then I can ask follow-up questions. I want to know ones that are really good at this particular profession or specialty. In the Microsoft 365 world, you'll actually find that search is one of the main functions, but a lot of people have not done anything with search. Graph API allows you to plug in and connect to your other data. Salesforce, ServiceNow, SQL databases, and so on. File being able to get your arms around the data. And the last thing I want to kind of talk about here is Azure OpenAI. So understand OpenAI, things like DALL-E, which is focused on images, where we saw that Microsoft Designer, designer.microsoft.com example, that's built on DALL-E. DALL-E is for image generation, helping you build out your social media posts or building images on the fly. Today, when we're looking for images, we go do an image search on Google or Bing or whatever. But a lot of the time, those things are trademarked. If instead, you know what image you're looking for, and you can say, I need a robot, maybe, or whatever. You can tell it what you're looking for, and what style you want it to be, and then you can then use that and know that no one else, if you use it, no one else has it, and no lawyers can be chasing you because it's trademark.
C'est très important. C'est vrai que, par exemple, on n'a pas beaucoup de banques maths. On ignore le problème, on trouve des réseaux marketing qui parlent, le problème, c'est sérieux. Quelqu'un sur son côté, en train de travailler, une fois, c'est comme nous, à mon pas par exemple, pour aller sur un plateforme, c'est un moment local, on est souvent dit de composer. On va trouver une image de quelqu'un qui est dehors, comme ça, sur son ordinateur. Je vais trouver la personne dans un bureau, comme le mien, comme le vôtre. Donc, je ne vais pas pouvoir prendre une vidéo comme je veux, pour rendre une émission pour lancer ma formation, etc. Et en fait, là où, en Occident, par exemple, ils vont pouvoir mettre l'image de quelqu'un et registrer ça, en fait, nous, on est tout bloqué, en fait. C'est très c'est vous dire, quoi. Et là, maintenant, c'est le problème. Parce que lui-même va inventer, en fait, cette image, cette personne-là, comme on l'a dit tout à l'heure, avec le facteur qui est facile, en fait. Le problème, on est dans l'histoire. Et il y a un autre point qui est important dans ce qu'il a dit avant, c'est que, effectivement, le fait d'utiliser ces choses-là, en fait, on nourrit l'intelligence artificielle, en fait. Donc, c'est très important pour nous, en fait, de trouver cela. Parce que là, du coup, en fait, l'imaginateur qui est facile, en fait, elle est gardée par OpenIA, elle est référencée par OpenIA, en fait. Et par exemple, il y a des fournis entre les trois qu'il avait dans son chancelier avec le fameux en fait, et le fameux s'appelle pour un client. Donc, il est très important pour nous de commencer très vite à prendre la main dans le en fait. C'est pas parce qu'on va améliorer le système. Il faut utiliser de face sur le mode de compteur, etc. Et pour eux, en fait, c'est quoi on va faire des très belles choses de leur côté très facilement, pendant que nous, en fait, on va prendre le retard là pour retard dans la alors que les applications, vous l'avez vu, c'est pas mal. Que ce soit pour faire un test, que ce soit pour faire une image qu'on ne sait pas, que ce soit aussi pour les choses aussi compliquées et faciles que l'autre monde. Ah oui, ouais, on en parle. On laisse pas dans le here, as you open an ad service, notice the layers. Each of you has data. Each of you have information. Each of you have APIs.
You actually build your own understanding layer and serve up your own training experience. You basically can train as an OpenAI on your data. And you'll notice there's actually three major pieces of OpenAI. Dolly, which is focused on image, whether you're generating images or understanding images, and you can, there's dozens of examples already on the internet of people who built on top of Dolly. The codex is code, Python, JavaScript, and so on. So really understanding code. And GPT-3 is the conversational AI. What I'm really interested in is next generation intranet. How do we help it understand the enterprise, understand the way we work, so it can actually be training it on our company data so then the actual conversational questions to answer an AI and being able to get relevant results based on the company. I think that's the next generation. And Bing is already some people have heard of Bing for work. I think it's kind of that these people that making it personal company exactly. So Microsoft is already thinking as well about how do we, in a very simple way, integrate search and your enterprise search with your own data. Not necessarily you're printing it on your data, but leveraging the power of search and conversational AI to get back to your enterprise results as well. And I want to just end with, I'm open for questions, but I want to say AI is not the dog ruling us. We are the dogs ruling it. It's there to help us. AI tools can produce content, as it can, but the questions are, what is the content for? Why are we creating content to begin with? Who will it delight? How we signal that it comes only from you? That's kind of the personal side. You know, when you're generating something, like that outline from the beginning, I still made it mine, but I like the suggestions it was making. So this presentation, even though most of it was AI generated, it's still me. I used PowerPoint Designer for a lot of the slides. I used Dolly too for the image generation, but I was in control the whole time. That's the job. Now everything that makes the world and everything the rest of the world, that is what it will be. Le chemin, c'est-à-dire que je vais faire la route du point A au point B, la décision elle est à la route. Nous, tout ce qu'il va faire, en fait, c'est juste faire la route, vous revenez maintenant de notre lumière, notre captation de service, tout ça, et tout à l'heure, vous n'allez pas vous en occuper. Encore une fois, en marketing, par exemple, en fait, ce qui va être fait, c'est que nous, quand on fait, par exemple, le cloud, quand on prend un système, en fait, il y a que nous qui pouvons le faire. L'IA ne peut pas le faire parce que l'IA ne peut pas comprendre que notre principal argument, en fait, pour nos clients, de rassurer par rapport aux institutions des acteurs exceptionnels, en fait, et savoir qu'on est le seul à le faire en local. C'est que par les acteurs. C'est ce que demander à l'IA. Par contre, nous faire de nouveau, nous faire un test pour notre petit producteur, maintenant tout ça. Nous le faire notre plateau, bien
plutôt une valeur pour moi. Mais par contre, le contexte même, le way de notre différenciation et tout ça, ça va être trop compliqué, quoi. Parce qu'il y a beaucoup trop de facteurs qui nous sont propres et la réputation concurrentielle qu'on a, il va pas venir, enfin, un auteur se rend pas compte, en fait, que dans un article, il y a beaucoup d'informations que les clients sont un peu parano vis-à-vis de ça. Il y a des recommandations, en fait, c'est quand même une photo de l'environnement. Donc, ici, un directeur de marketing, en fait, lui, il va juste donner des directions. Et c'est vrai que là, il allait voir son designer pour les visuels, en fait, ben là, mais je vous rassure, je pense que du côté du designer, lui aussi va faire la même chose, en fait. Il va donner l'idée générale, la direction, et après, la machine va faire, en fait. Exactement, c'est vraiment le côté un peu, l'intelligence du designer, en fait, va rester, quoi. C'est-à-dire que même, moi, si je vais le faire, je ne sais pas si je vais appeler cette intelligence visuelle, en fait, moi, je n'aurais pas, en fait, pour choisir entre, encore une fois, de trois photos existantes. Ça va rester. Par contre, le travail, c'est ça, de faire des tests, par exemple, pour un événement, c'est une marketing, c'est des choses qu'on doit pratiquer, les partenaires qui va parler, en fait, les trucs qu'on met en grande ligne, en fait, on connaît toutes ces terminologies-là. Là, je passais 20 minutes pour faire un email, en fait, pour dire monsieur le fournisseur de l'événement de compte tout ça, comment, quand, et puis même, je pense qu'on a trouvé une média, leur rôle de la fournisseur de parents, au niveau de l'information, ils m'ont envoyé un rapport, et c'est tout, quoi. Ils ont pas envoyé 3 emails, tout ça, et lui, il me dit, voilà, c'est que le besoin. Mais ça connaît son besoin, ou alors on va lui donner des mains. Donc, uniquement décisionnel, la direction, on vient d'enlever le web, ça va être par contre, la partie fonctionnelle, ça va être vraiment structurer un maximum, il arrive de prendre une que l'on a parlé avec ça, bon, le mot plutôt être dans le dynamisme